Hi class. In this section of chapter 4 we're looking at factors that control temperature, and the first factor that we're going to look at is latitude and latitude's control on temperature. In the PowerPoint presentation there's a couple of slides associated with this section of latitude's control on temperature, and so you can refer back to those two slides on the PowerPoint to take a look and relate it back to what I'm going to be talking about here. And so what we're looking at is two different locations: San Antonio, Texas, and Winnipeg, which is just over the US-Canadian border. San Antonio's latitude is about 29.5 degrees north latitude, and Winnipeg's latitude is about 50 degrees north latitude. Okay, and so what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at the effect of those latitudinal differences on the temperature at these two locations. Okay, and so two factors that latitude will have a big impact on are the sun angle and the length of daylight hours at these two locations. Okay, so look at it at the two opposing seasons, the seasons that have the extremes, so in wintertime and summertime. So if we look at wintertime, which of these two locations, San Antonio versus Winnipeg, has the higher sun angle? And it's pretty obvious, I think, that San Antonio will have the higher sun angle. Okay, and if we look at the number of hours of daylight in winter versus, winter in Winnipeg versus San Antonio, I did look it up, and let's see, in wintertime, San Antonio has over 10 hours of daylight, and Winnipeg has just over 8 hours. And so when we're looking at number of hours of daylight, once again, in wintertime, San Antonio comes out on top. Okay, and so I think it's pretty obvious that San Antonio is going to be warmer than Winnipeg in wintertime, and again we can boil that down to sun angle and the number of hours of daylight. If we look at it in the opposite extreme, in summertime, we can take a look at who's got a higher sun angle, and once again San Antonio is going to win that battle. It's got a very high sun angle. Winnipeg's is much higher in the summertime compared to its wintertime, but if you're comparing Winnipeg to San Antonio, San Antonio has a much higher sun angle even in the summertime. Okay, now when we look at daylight hours, though, in summertime San Antonio has about 14 hours of daylight. Winnipeg has about 16.5 hours of daylight. So in this particular case, San Antonio comes out on top in terms of the number of hours of daylight, by about 2.5 hours longer. And I'm looking at the summer solstice, so June 21st. So Winnipeg has about 2.5 hours more daylight, 2.5 hours more that they can be absorbing solar radiation compared to San Antonio. Okay, so what we're going to do now is let's move this up here and now take a look at what's called the average annual temperature curve for Winnipeg and San Antonio. And I don't think it comes as any surprise that San Antonio is a warmer location than Winnipeg, but what I want you to concentrate on here is the difference between winter and summer. So let's use July as an example here. So we're looking right here for summertime, okay, and we'll use January as our case for winter. Okay, so and what we're looking at here is the range of temperatures. So notice that Smaller range in the difference in temperatures in summertime between Winnipeg and San Antonio, and the huge range in temperature difference between Winnipeg and San Antonio in the wintertime. And again, we boil that down to in the summertime, even though San Antonio has the higher sun angle, it has Winnipeg has a longer day length, and so that's going to reduce the temperature range between the two locations in summertime. But in wintertime, San Antonio has both a higher sun angle and a longer day length. Okay, so as a result, because it wins on both accounts, it's going to really drastically increase that range in temperature between Winnipeg and San Antonio. Okay, so there you have it. That's why we have such a I should say that's why latitude plays such a huge role in temperature, because you all boil it down to the sun angle and the day length. Okay, so next we'll take a look at the influence of water on temperature.